horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Fancy in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
And a very warm welcome to the Barsters Inquiry Sunday Sermon. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and with me is John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot to chew the fat on this Sabbath. John, it's an interesting... Good evening, John. Good evening. It's an interesting show this evening. We've got some good questions and some interesting topics, together with Punchestown naps from me and John, and some interesting horses for Jimmy Linley. I'll get straight on with the fare tonight, given that this is a time-limited show. We like to keep this short and sharp. And the first question this evening is from Paul Rich. And this is quite an intelligent question for a Sunday sermon. Normally we like things like, who'd win in a gorilla and a bear in a knuckle fight. But Paul Rich says, what do you think? gorilla, yeah, you're probably not. Just go on to you're doing it 20 times harder, 20 times harder than Tyson Fury. I mean, that's some knockout, though, isn't it?
that can knock walls down, can't it?
We should send a gorilla to Ginger Hitler, really, shouldn't we? So he could have a couple of rounds.
A gorilla gram.
Yeah. Well, that one in Trading Places.
Yeah, that one do. Yeah, Clarence Bates.
He was a bastard, weren't he?
Yeah. Wrong.
Anyway, so going on to Paul Rich's question. He says, guys, what do you think of sectionals? Should all courses provide them? Stride length and pace seem useful tools when assessing 2 to 3 year olds, as well as breeding. He says he looks at dam side with colts and sire side with fillies. Am I totally wrong? Well, Paul, I don't think you are. I think it's all part of the variable pot. Stride length is very important, since the data has become available, to measure whether horses want distances or whether they want sprints. Because if it's common sense, really, if you've got a short stride pattern that's doing so many strides per second, you're more likely to be a sprinter. And obviously, the less strides per second, you're more likely to be a stayer. It's common sense there, and I think that's useful when assessing unraced, once raced 2 and 3 year olds, so you can just get a handle of where they are trip wise. So no, I don't think you're on the wrong path there. Sectional timings are used to great effect, and it's a big part of my betting. So yeah, absolutely, you're on the right lines. Breeding, absolutely. With dam and sires, because edges on ground distance, with your betting rather than just pure form pointers, which a lot of punters will just look at. And there's more there. I do a little weekly betting for a living, if you like, podcast. You might want to listen to a few of those that might take your interest. That's available on YouTube Archive or SoundCloud. John, have you does stride length and sectional times interest you?
Stride length interests me. Actually, measuring it doesn't. I think over the years I've looked at enough stride patterns to say when one's outstandingly covering more ground than the horse's stature would indicate it should be, or vice versa. I think it's something I can pick up on visually. But it is something that tends to catch my eye when I look at a horse's stride pattern and things. I would notice when it covers an extraordinarily large amount of ground. I think there's no finer sight than seeing
like a group class thoroughbred with a big stride. I mean, I can tell you now, Paul, the world record for the biggest stride length is Bernardini. That had, I believe, I've actually forgot the actual number. I think it's 26 feet something, 26 and a half feet. I think it was. Nothing has got to that length. So, do you remember Bernardini, John?
Oh yes, yeah. Not what I would have called an exceptional moving off either, really. His actual action wouldn't have took it out that much, I suppose, but it's surprising how much round some of them can go.
I mean, Simon Rowlands once wrote an article on it, and Simon Rowlands loves a good buffet. I mean, he will. These all-you-can-eat places, Simon Rowlands would. He's international class, but he really is. But I mean, he did an interesting article on stride length that's available for all to see, and he talks, a fair bit of sense on it. But I mean, I'm certain he's better with 5 plates and all-you-can-eat Chinese than he is with anything else, really. But Simon Rowlands there, a plug for him there. If you Google that online, you can learn a bit about stride length and patterns, which might improve your betting. So, great question, Paul Rich. Like questions like that are outside the box. And the next question's also a bit out of the box. Is from Andrew Woodman, who is an avid listener of the show. And this fellow is dead inside. I've never met anyone as dead inside as Andrew Woodman. But he says, what is your favourite racing betting storyline on TV and film? He says it's a toss-up between J.J. Mooney's story in Minder and the Sid James's tipping budgie in Carry On at Your Convenience. John, have you got some brilliant betting film or storyline?
I think the film that influenced me most as a kid was a film called The Rainbow Jacket, which starred that old fucker out of Last of the Summer Wine, Bill Owen, who was a bent jockey. And at first it looked like he was going to try to make the Wonder Kid bent, and then it gets to the climax of the film and the Wonder Kid decided he wasn't going to be bent, and Bill Owen had to go and be bent on his own, and Robert Morley was in it, and Steve Carson was very keen on the film by all accounts as well. Same age group, and that was probably my biggest influence as a kid, the Rainbow Jacket.
Good stuff. The Rainbow Jacket. Right, I've got to watch that then, because I've not watched it. Do you think Bill Owen was like with the script and that he was thinking I'd rather stop this?
I think he was the go-to man for playing jockeys in the mid-50s. He was the right size. He looked bent, and probably was bent.
What do you class as looking bent, like Compo?
Well, looking like Bill Owen, yeah. It's that raffish, roguish look, isn't it? You might have a shave this morning, but you just might not as well. It's that type of thing, You might stay out all night, but you might come home. It's that look, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, so that's it. The Rainbow Jacket. We've all got to either buy a copy, get a copy, and get it watched, because I'm intrigued by John's choice there. That sounds my sort of film. For me, John, and you'll be familiar with this, it has to be. It's just the king of kings, isn't it? Robbie Box.
Ah.
Big deal. I mean, that's just. I mean, if anyone's lived through the 80s and 90s or even late 70s as an adult, you'll be bouncing at Robbie Box, on Big Deal, because it's just literally the typical what went off back then. It's just amazing. Absolutely,
it was a lifestyle manual, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd even say me in my early 20s. I was probably about the equivalent back then of Robbie Box. I was literally looking for every single edge I could find. I was looking for every smidgen of value from every betting shop I could find. If somebody was offering 100% bonus on Union Jacks, you'd ask if they were taking football bets, and they'd be like 24 odds on shots, on a night card, on internationals. All things like that remind me a Big Deal. It's well written. It's just fantastic. If you've never watched it, say we've got younger listeners, I urge you to get copies of Big Deal. You will absolutely love it. Just keep watching it, because I guarantee you won't watch it once. You'll watch it over and over. It's absolutely brilliant. So that'd be my choice. Yeah. So Big Deal from me, and John is Rainbow Jacket, which I'm definitely going to watch. Absolutely 100%. Right, we move on to the Shoot the Fat part of the show, where we discuss racing issues. And the first one is fixtures and race planning, where the BHA seem to be in a bit of a muddle with what sort of racing to put on. I mean, I always thought it was winter, it's jumps, spring, summer, after the National, it's all about the flat, and that's it. Nothing else matters. But that doesn't seem quite the case, John.
Well, these waggle-heads of the chat know exactly what the book is telling them to do. And it's not really adding up, because there isn't the money there to cover the fixtures. And the book makes aren't bothered. They're just telling the VHA, we want this and we want that, and so on and so forth. If you can't pad it out with prize money, it's your problem. And the VHA, in their infinite wisdom, are just saying, well, we can do that. And, and away they go. And they're putting on fairly shit cards for fairly shit money, and they're hoping nobody notices. But, too late. Everybody's tumbled to it. So now you've got a mess on your hands.
I mean, this is the thing for me, and I think racing's got a problem here, because we touched on this the other night about clerks and the courses and things, and I think we should touch on it again. In that, so you looked at Exeter put on a fixture the other night, and literally there was hardly any runners. It was absolute bore snooze fest. Good to firm ground, boring, which you're going to get towards this time of year over jumps. And I mean, so why are we putting 3 jumps cards on good to firm? And then why then, for example, Ripon on Saturday with great prize money for the track, really. I mean, Johnson said it was poor prize money, but to be honest, in these times at the moment, when we see what the Spring Cup was worth and we saw what the Lincoln was worth, Ripon didn't actually do that bad a job. And yet there was absolutely no runners. Now, are trainers, do you think, like dictating the game, as in they're just not willing to run their horses on good to firm, forcing the clerks to put too much on to make it overwatered slop?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a crying shame, really, because these small failed cards, I mean, Johnson, case in point, he's whinging about the prize money. He knew he had 2 gimmies at Ripon on Saturday.
Yeah.
Both of them make the running. Both highly unlikely to get beat. So why not have a go about the prize money if you're one of the most mean-spirited people in the game? It's appalling, really. I mean, Haggis had a spell where he had to go at Redcar over the level of the prize money at Redcar. And since then, just about everything Haggis has run at Redcar's won. His percentage will be off the graph at Redcar. And I'm sure there's some kind of madness in it where he's frightening away opposition from certain races, and choosing plenty. It's awful, this state of affairs with racing, because you get to the end of the season, they'll all be looking for opportunities to run, and you'll cast your mind back to this time of year and think, what the blue hell were they doing? And really, it's down to the owners to kick these trainers up the arse and say, look, get my horse ready and get it running. I don't want to be shelling about like this while you write your bletherings or whatever the hell you call them. And, get on with it with my horse, please, if you don't mind.
Well, that's it, isn't it, in a way? I mean, I know Nick Davis, a regular listener, he's sort of like really annoyed with the Clarks sometimes, but I do think the pressure comes from the trainers, because the thing is, if they're just saying, no, it's too quick, it kind of forces them, the Clarks, to say, well, we've got to shove more on, else they're not going to turn up. We're in strange times, because this never went on back in the day. We probably weakened the breed, and this race planning to me is bizarre, because, as I said, jump racing is for winter, flat racing is for this is it now. Jump racing should be gone, be done with you, out and away. And it's not. It's still around. It's regular fixtures. I know some horses need an opportunity, but it's just overkill with it. I just think we need to be concentrating on flat. And what prize money problems have we got? We can't fund racing properly. Yet we're putting on 6-7 meetings a day, John.
Well, it just illustrates that they don't live in the real world, doesn't it? Any folk should be able to say that we can't afford to do this. But on it goes, and there's not a dissenting voice at the top table. Why can't they say this? We've got no money. There's no prize money. Let's put more fixtures on. Why isn't somebody just putting their hand up and saying, whoa, hang on a minute?
I mean, have you noticed as well? I mean, by stealth, the bookies, again, I know we paint them as evil all the time, but they are. But, I mean, the starts now are like 1 o'clock on most days, as if to catch the lunchtime crowd, and then they finish in. I'll guarantee you this summer there'll be meetings starting still at 1 o'clock when it used to be 2 o'clock in the summer, and not finishing until 9 at night. They just if they had their way. I mean, they tried it back in the day with banded racing, starting at 10:30, 11 o'clock. The morning meetings.
Yeah.
They'll do anything they can to get racing wall to wall from 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. And it's the wrong model. It's wrong for racing. It really is. But that leads us into point 2 of tonight's Chew the Fat. And basically, Ralph Raif, he tried this morning to really stick the knife into the BHA on Nick Luck. It was quite entertaining viewing, really. It was really bitter. In fact, if basically, I know when you see someone that's bitter, he was very bitter, really bitter, because apparently a trainer withdrew the name last year from the BHA criticisms, and he said he was put under a bus with Ralph, by the public. Yeah, Raif. And he says, to put it in a nutshell for you, John, because I know, obviously we haven't all got limitless time where we can watch every show going, but he says, this is Ralph, he says, what on earth are the BHA doing employing a retired policeman, a former buyer from Waitrose, a former champion rower, and a woman from the telly, basically running the BHA, John?
It's not, I don't know, it sounds like a pretty good combination to me. I mean, especially for one from the telly's a seasoned weather girl or something like that.
Ulrika Johnson.
Well, I'd like to get to the bottom of who it is that's been critical of the BHA, and I was liking the BHA. I understand that RAIF is quite critical, but Ralph quite likes them. And I think Ralph is probably the one that's sticking up for the BHA, but RAIF is sticking the knife in, which is causing a lot of conflict in his own house, with his missus especially. I feel sorry for him that he feels he's been chucked under a bus, because I mean, as RAIF or Ralph or RAIF, he won't have ever chucked anybody under a bus himself as a well-meaning public schoolboy, and friend to all, man for all seasons. Johnston was part of this criticism, I believe.
Yes, he was moaning, real moaning.
I mean, I don't know why he's still in the game. He should piss off and be a concert pianist or something. He obviously hates it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're right in what they say. The BHA give people key positions with no regard for whether they're going to be any good at it, and then we just assume that they're being good at it. Whereas RAIF has his finger on the pulse, and he's watching everything with an all-seeing eye, and has decided that they're not up to the snuff, and he wants changes. Well, I don't think he's going to get them, do you? Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he's going to get them, is he?
66ers. And there's no takers at that.
No. I mean, he's got more chance of Tiger Road running in the National, hasn't he?
I think Ralph RAIF would win back favour with punters. He'd get more respect off punters if he did what Simon and Ed Crisford have done and become a joint trainer licence, Ralph and Rafe Beckett. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
I think that would curry flavour with.
It would have cleared up a lot of confusion, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, because then we know him as Ralph and Rafe, and absolutely, yeah.
That would have been the way forward, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, listen, you have got something to tell me this week, and tell the listeners this week. You've got a tale of the turf, and your tale of the turf are legendary, John. So I want you to tell this story in your own words from past memories of the racing game.
All right. Is this the one about the cricket?
Yeah, I think that's the one you said you were going to bring up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I was a junior cricketer back, about 1983 time, I was also the vice captain of the senior team at my local village, and me and the Ginger Hitler played in that team, and we didn't have a pot to piss in, either of us, and as luck would have it, if you were the vice captain, you were the treasurer as well. Well, that meant you took all the team money in all season. Everybody's giving you the £2 at tea time and whatever. You're supposed to pay that in the bank, and at the end of the season you put your votes in. Well, this first week in October was Cesarewicz week, and I got sent 3 horses. Now, mainly Ginger Hitler, we were in our usual state of poverty, and we didn't have enough to buy a paper, never mind have a bet on these things, and The first one was running on the Wednesday. Now, we had a problem as well because there was a committee meeting for the cricket on the Sunday night where the money had to go in. So after a brief conflab, me and the ginger decided bollocks to it, and we stole the cricket money to back this horse. We didn't steal all of it. I think we left about 15 quid in the jar. Which, again, I don't know why we did that, because that wouldn't have kept us out of prison, really. Yeah. I mean, it may have been hush money for somebody who was as skint as us, but other than that, it wasn't going to do an eighth of good.
No.
So anyway, we piled the money on this first thing. It was a horse of John Dunlop's called Tommy Way, and it won by 8 lengths, and it went on to win the Italian Derby the following year.
Some judge you are.
Well, it wasn't me that sent it. I only received it. And,
right.
Yeah. So we were happy, you know. We had a couple of drinks that sort of spilled over into the Thursday and Friday. Well, by the time the Saturday comes round and you've squared a few things up with a few people, there's no money in the till again. So we're back in the jar, aren't we? Well, this time it's one of stout from the only crop of Shergar called Dolka. So anyway, we didn't even leave the 15 in the jar this time. We said bollocks to it.
What was it called? What was it called again, John?
Dolka, Dolka.
Dolka.
And bugger me, that one as well. But it was a little bit of a fine thing because it was in the days of the old Excel blower. And they were going into the final term and it hadn't been mentioned. Ginger Hitler was getting his speech ready for saying where it wasn't his fault and it had nothing to do with him, and it was all my idea. and I was just getting ready for handing him his resignation and telling him that good-looking boys like me shouldn't get sent to prison. But anyway, 100 yards out, they said it was coming through, made progress, and whoever was doing the Excel commentary got it up on the line. Subsequently showed it won fairly easily on the Monday when we saw the Spartan Life.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was no good to us. That was...
What did you feel like inside in final?
I thought I was going to spew up, to be honest. We were straight out the betting shop and down to our local sports club, and I had a very large whiskey just to settle myself down a bit. There was a brief moment in the race I thought I was going to prison. Definitely. I wouldn't have messed about at our club, you know. They call the law enforcement team in. So.
Yeah. Great story. Fantastic. I mean, in that position, geez. I mean, like you said, the old Excel commentaries are hilarious because it's as if they deliberately left it exciting for the betting shop customers staring at a speaker. I mean, you know, it's like it wins 2.5 lengths, and it's like, and it don't get a mention until, like you said, last few strides, and finishing fast down the outside. You know, it was great. Great days and a great story. Thanks, John. We move on to Punchestown because we need to give you our bankers for the Punchestown meeting. And I know John's very keen on one for the festival this week. He thinks it's his banker for Punchestown. John?
I don't think you can go wrong with Alico in the champion chase. I was massively impressed with it in the Ryanair. I felt I had the winner of the Ryanair with that Fakir Dewdries, and this thing just kicked the living shit out of it, didn't it, really? And I just think this has made such strides this year, it's different gravy. 74 is not exactly taking your eye out, but I think it wants taking myself.
Yeah, Allaher 7-4 with the superb Rachel Blackmore in the saddle. Hopefully
With the
to guide
thumb.
Allaher.
With the thumb,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. So a good selection there from John as his banker. My banker of the week at Punchestown would be in the Gold Cup, which would be Kenboy. Wicked Willie has a good record at Punchestown at this for the spring meeting, and Kenboy's 2 from 3 at Punchestown. He likes flat tracks. I always saw Kenboy as a King George horse, but they've never decided to run him in the King George. I think he'd absolutely bully them with his front running style. You know, he'd put Prodon to bed.
You seem to be good down there, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm astonished they've never even considered Kenboy for a King George. It's astounding. And I do think spring ground, Kenboy, out and away you go. He beat Alboom Photo, you know, the horse you never see. He beat that two years ago in this race. And I don't see any different here. I think this is his track. I think he'll just bound on. He's free going. That's fine on this sort of ground. And I think Kenboy at 6-1 each way, a pleasure. Yeah. So that'd be mine. That's on the Wednesday in the 5:55 race. So hopefully me and John will line your pockets with gold going into the weekend, which I'll announce now is going to be a big show indeed. It's the Guineas show on Friday. We're very, very excited for the weekend. Me and John, one of the best weekends on the calendar, the Newmarket 2,000 and 1,000 guineas. And John, any chance we could persuade the Ginger Hitler to appear Friday?
I've actually opened negotiations with him, and he said he's willing to give it some thought. Yeah.
Well, that's better than what you normally get out of it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if we can get the Ginger Hitler for the Guineas special on Friday. And to round the show off this evening, myself and John have got 2 eye catchers. I will go with mine first because John's got a nice one in Ireland. Mine's a little bit more obvious this week. It is it's a banker for a fillies maiden. It's trained by Roger Varian. It's a horse called Timeless Soul. It ran on Saturday, and it ran at Haydock, and it was behind a horse called Hangam that had run to about 75-ish, maybe high 70s prior. Very slow pace early on, did the sectionals. Timeless Soul was out the back. It was a debut, and she made great late ground. She would have, any normal run race, she would have won. I'd put her around the 85 mark, and I think that's a banker for most fillies maidens. I'm not saying you want to be taking on big stuff, but it's kind of good if you find a quiet maiden, take the even money, have the lot on. Timeless Soul on Saturday, the 24th of April for Roger Varian is my follow-up for a maiden banker. John, you've got one in Ireland, I think, from Saturday.
Yeah, Apricot Rose, trained by former actor Will Ferrell. I ran on Saturday, wasn't off a step, basically. Held up a slowly run race. Modest late gains. We'll probably go up to 10 at least next time out. And unless getting absolutely clobbered by the handicapper, it should be somewhere close to winning a race, really.
Good stuff. Yeah, I noticed it was sort of, and Limerick for me on Saturday was suiting pace mainly, not all the time, but pace and inside. And I do think this was really eye catching. So I think you're onto something here. I think it's a really good follower this for your trackers. Anything that's formally trained by Dermot Weld, obviously the they're going on to whether Dermot was training properly last year. It's like Stout. Stout didn't train properly last year. Dermot probably he had a bad season last year, and maybe that's it. You know, horses leaving his care to Will Ferrell, like you say, the actor. Might improve the horse.
Well, they might win a BAFTA if nothing else.
Absolutely. Right, so I hope you've enjoyed this Sunday sermon. That's just about it for me and John. We're back on Friday, as I say, with the Guineas special, hoping to persuade the Panzer Commander to join us with some horrid thoughts. I mean, you know, what goes off in his mind is just not worth really talking about. Terrible thoughts. But we're hoping to get him to join us for the weekend. So I hope you have a great week, and like plenty of winners. That's all from me and John. Bye for now.